My name is Alice Phillips, and I'm a proud primary care pediatrician, and I've been working for Cook Children's my entire medical career. I went straight from my residency. I got really lucky and got a job here. And so about 6 years ago, I started working in some leadership roles with the system. I joined our board of directors for our physicians. Then a crazy thing called the pandemic happened. And I found myself in a role where I was leading our primary care doctors, trying to figure out how we fly that airplane through the sky while we're building it, because that was a tough time. And found a love for that, found that I really loved working with people and bringing them together and solving problems. And so about a month ago now, I transitioned full-time into an administration role. And so now I work in the quality department as the director for ambulatory quality, doing exactly that I love. So I get to talk to people and I get to solve problems just to make sure that what we are doing for our patients every day is the safest and the best that it can be. And I really think my background, my primary care background, just is a perfect fit for this job. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm still learning the ropes of it. I'm going to have to practice not saying yes to everything because I'm definitely a person who likes to, I see a gap. Ooh, I need to fix that. And I want to jump in. And so I'm going to have to work on that part of it. So I grew up in Texas. I'm born, bred, and raised here. My hometown is Rockwall, just on the other side of Dallas. My parents were both teachers. And I really think that everyone always thought I was going to become a teacher like my parents. And so people ask me all the time, why'd you become a doctor? And truly, I don't mean this to disrespect my parents, but it's because they didn't want me to be one. They thought it would be hard, and it was. They didn't think I would ever be able to have everything in life that I wanted, that I would be able to be a mom and a doctor. And so I kind of joke that I am just stubborn enough that if you tell me no, I can't do something, I am going to work really hard to prove you wrong. And so that carried me through college, proud Texas Aggie, wearing my maroon today as well. And I've been really lucky. But it has been hard, and I've had a lot of people to help me on that path, so I feel very lucky. You know, being a woman going into medicine in that time was a little challenging. There were times that you would hear things like, why don't you just go home and raise kids like you're supposed to? And why are you doing all this? Even a little bit of that stigma of, oh, well, you're going into pediatrics because you're a woman. Which was not why I went into pediatrics. I went into pediatrics because it is the absolute best field to go into. But those were some challenges that you had to face. Now, it's a lot better now. And if you look at Cook, we have a tremendous array of strong female leaders. If you look at our doctors, more of us are women than men. So that's pretty cool. And that's another reason pediatrics is the coolest. You know, facing those challenges as a woman, I think you have to show up every day. I think you have to be confident in your abilities and not let the naysayers get you down. And there's going to be times that people say things that hurt you, that make you feel devalued. But you can't let that change who you think you are on the inside. And I think if you work hard, and I'm a lifelong learner, I get that from my parents being teachers, and I never stop learning. And I think by doing that, you just show people, dang, she knows what she's doing. She's got this going on. And that's how you overcome the naysayers. So my husband and I are both proud Aggies. I already said I was an Aggie. He is too. And my daughter, she went to that other school, that one in Austin. we don't like to talk about that one. And those were some really painful tuition checks. I love my girl though, so I wouldn't buy orange. I bought some white things supportive of that school, and I wore them for 4 years, and they're gone from my closet now. But my husband has been super supportive. I'm really lucky to have him. He sees me as a partner and an equal. He's an engineer, and he works out of town sometimes, but we support each other. And he's always been there. And when I've said, hey, I've got this crazy idea that I'm going to take this job instead, and he's like, great, let's do it. So I've been lucky. Now, my husband's great, had 2 great kids, good job, but it's hard. And trying to balance that, I don't want anybody to think that was ever easy, because it wasn't. And there were nights I'm running through that Chick-fil-A drive-through and getting the #1 combo no pickle with a Dr. Pepper, just like every other mother in the area, because we're just doing the best we can. And sometimes it's about just surviving that day. And my husband and I didn't always agree. We had some whoppers of fights and arguments, usually over children and child rearing and differences, but we survived it. Middle school stinks. I might say another word, but this is a Cook Children podcast. But middle school stinks, and man, you just have to get through it. Teenagers are challenging. If teenagers were all amazing and wonderful, we would never want them to leave home. We want them to leave home. We want them to go out and find their way. And so you have to kind of work through those tough times. So there were many times raising those kids, and I felt like I had no idea what I was doing. And I very vividly remember early on when it's my first son, and I'm trying to give him a bath. And I'm a freaking doctor, and I should know how to do this. And I had no clue. And it probably took me an hour and a half just to give him a bath. And I'm sobbing and crying in the bathroom because I feel like I totally have no idea what I'm doing. And, then you graduate to taking him to school, and you're sobbing at drop off, and then all the challenges that your kids face. And I think where you struggle and feel the most like a failure as a mom is when you see your kids going through something painful and you can't stop it. And you probably shouldn't stop it. But you just think, gosh, that's my job. I'm supposed to keep them from feeling that pain. And you can't do it. You can't do it, no matter who you are or what your job is. And all you can do is be there, love them, and hug them and help them pick up the pieces. There was never really a doubt that I was going to be anything other than a pediatrician. When I was in my training and I was in my OBGYN section of medical school, I would deliver the baby and follow the baby to the NICU. I was really challenged with seeing adults dealing with such terrible chronic illness, and I felt like there was so little that I could do to help them. And so it felt to me like the place to be was with the kids, where you could help to teach them and help give them strategies to have a healthier life before they get to that point where there's nothing you can do. And so I really think it was always meant to be. People used to tell me when I was in med school, I'm still not quite sure if I think this was good or not, but you look like a pediatrician, which felt a little bit like that woman thing. You're a woman, so you look like a pediatrician. But I would just smile and say, I'm going to take that as a compliment. And then when I was graduating from my residency, I had a lucky colleague connection, and it was a gentleman here from Fort Worth. His name was Bud Hoffer. He just recently passed away. He worked for one of the formula companies, and the rep in Houston connected me with him, and he said, you need to come check out this Cook Children's. And at that time, the network and the system we have now was in its early years. Like, it was only a couple of years in. I was literally like Dr. 100 who came in. And we're now over 550 doctors. So I got really lucky. Fort Worth's my husband's hometown. And I told him, I said, I don't care what city we live in, but I want to live in Texas. So I'm choosing Texas. You choose the city. And he graduated from Arlington Heights High School. We had family here. And he said, let's go to Fort Worth. And so the stars I got lucky and the stars aligned and we landed here. It was some of my work during the pandemic that I enjoyed the leadership roles. But, people ask me a lot, why quality? And quality fits me really well. And early in my career, I had something happen that I think back on very frequently. If you work in this medicine world long enough, you're going to have some wins and you're going to have some losses where you might do everything you could, everything you thought that was right at that moment, and you still don't have the outcome you want. And so very early in my career, I had a case like that where I did everything that I thought was right, and it didn't end up how I wanted it to. And I remember that, and I think back on it, and I think, could there have been something else in place, a process, a workflow, a tool that we don't have right now that if we could add it for our teams, we might prevent that. And then the family doesn't have to go through that. We take better care of the kid and the doctor doesn't have to go through that. And so, I told Annie once when she first started at Cook, she called me. She was so happy. She had a great day and she had something really good happen. And I said, write it down. Tack it on your bulletin board so that when you have one of those bad days, you can look at it and remember, okay, today didn't work out the way I wanted, but there's a day that did, because those bad days come. Back in May of 2021, I ran for and was elected by my peers to be the first female primary care physician to lead our board of directors. I was also the first primary care physician to have that job in 20 years, so I was bringing it back home for the PCPs. And at the same time, the entire executive team was all female. That was pretty cool. That was amazing to be part of a group of strong, smart, capable female physicians who were leading our doctors, making decisions, and taking on that tough work. So my dire need to fix and to fill holes and to solve problems, I do get asked a lot where that comes from. And I think you always have to think, is it nature or is it nurture? Meaning, is it just, was I born that way? Probably a little bit. I don't know, my parents tell me I was pretty difficult and stubborn as a young child. I have quite a few pictures of me with my lips stuck out, pouting. And some of it might be life experiences. I was definitely in a home. I had wonderful parents, but it was my job to take care of my mom. When she was worried or struggling with something, and she struggled a little bit with some anxiety, it was my job to keep her calm. It was my job to make sure that she knew everything was going to be okay. And so I think that was part of it. I don't know that there's much more than that. So, a lot of my work over the past 3 years, I've been advocating for immunization safety and immunization administration. And part of that is my life work. That is bread and butter. That is what we pediatricians do. We want to prevent. We want to keep the kids safe. And then, just like we were talking about why am I strong-willed, some of that's nature and nurture as well on this. So my mom had polio as a child, and I saw the impact that it left on her. And then in 2020, my mom died of COVID. She died the week the vaccines came out. And she didn't have a chance for that to save her life. And so when people ask me, why am I passionate about vaccines? It's because of a combination of that. We know they work. The science shows us they work. And if we can prevent those losses, other people don't have to feel that pain. And so it's what I've seen and what I haven't seen that makes me passionate about vaccines. I haven't seen measles. It's not because it's gone. It's because we vaccinate against it and we prevent it. And if we let our guard down, it will be back. We are too global of a world. We can't let our guard down. And so I know sometimes people are hesitant about vaccines. Trust your doctors, trust the science. We have spent a long time. I have spent too many years in a classroom learning, my entire career studying to make sure that I know everything I need to know to help you make the best decision. And I don't want your child to face those diseases when we have a way to stop it. So in my role as the Director of Ambulatory Quality and Safety, I do a lot, but I'm the first person to ever do it. So, we have for a long time at Cook, we have tested methods and done huge safety projects in patient because those patients are critically sick and we need to work there. But now the world's figuring out, what about all those outpatient visits? That's what ambulatory means, outpatient, something that happens not in a hospital bed. And there's a lot of potential for improvement in our processes, eliminating harms in all of those. So that's my job. And so what all is in that? Well, I'm going to be very honest. No one's done this job before. I'm a little bit making it up as I go, but I'm relying upon the history of what we've done at Cook before. So first thing I did was I started joining every committee I could that's working on this in the hospital. And then when they would talk about something, I would poke them in the back and say, what about ambulatory? What about us? And then people got used to me asking questions like that. And then they started asking questions like that. And it got really exciting. So it's kind of like catching fire. Everyone's thinking about it now. And everyone's starting to get excited. So it's early. I only just went full-time, like I said, a month ago. But we got a lot of work we can do. And we're going to figure it out. It's going to be pretty cool. But it's going to take some time. Change is hard. Change is hard. I have 2 amazing grown adult children. My oldest, Ben. So what do you get when a doctor marries an engineer? You get a theater kid. And so he has always had a love for the arts. So he works at UTA in Arlington. He's the scenic shop supervisor. And he's working on his master's to be a professor there. And he's happily married his high school sweetheart. So that's pretty cool. We love her. And then we have Annie, Annie was my second. And when she was early on, she would say, I'm going to do medicine. And then she got into college and she just decided, man, that path is not for me. And I've never wanted to force anything on my kids. And so she decided that her path was nutrition and that she studied a lot of science, but that she wanted to really go to become a registered dietitian. She had always loved kids as well. She did a ton of nannying. She taught at different camps in the area. Just kids were kind of her thing. And she had a really good natural way with them. And so I think it just was the right path for her. Now, how did she end up at Cook Children's? Well, I'd like to see maybe I encouraged her to come here. So she got her master's over at UT Southwestern, and she might have interviewed at another hospital somewhere else. But she took my advice and she came here. And so she's working in our cardiology department. Couldn't be more proud And what's really cool is when I have a question about her diet on her dietitian stream, I'll just text her, hey, what's up with this? And she'll hear something and she doesn't know quite what to do. Hey, Mom, what should I do about this? And so it's really cool because, we had that classic, 3 or 4 years where you would text your daughter and it's like crickets. You don't get anything. But now it's more of like a collegial relationship. And I think we respect each other a lot. We've gotten to see each other in a very different way.
My name's Annie Phillips. I am a dietitian in cardiology at Cook Children's. I work with babies with congenital heart defects, and I help them grow. That could include fortifying breast milk, fortifying formula, helping moms navigate feeding their baby, making tube feeding schedules and regimens for babies that can't eat by mouth, so they have to go home with a tube that goes through their nose or through their stomach. I work really closely with moms, dads, caregivers to help them figure out how best to nourish their child. The first several months of life for an infant with congenital heart disease are really important, and growth is really important for them. We know that the first several months of life are really important for any baby. Inadequate growth can lead to inadequate brain development, delayed milestones, feeding difficulties, you name it. So it's really important that within those first couple months of life, we make sure that the babies that come through our service are adequately nourished. So my mom, Dr. Phillips, growing up, she was definitely tough on me. She expected a lot. I grew up with a mom who was a doctor and a dad who's an engineer. So school was very, very important. I was expected to be top of my class, not necessarily top, but close to it. And A's were the only acceptable grade in my household. So you bet I got most of them, or my mom would not have had it. But she really was more than tough. She was more inspiring. She showed me what it was like to be a working mom who worked every day from 8 to 5 and then would still make time to take me to cheerleading practices and come to every single dance recital and come to every single one of my brother's theater performances. Even though she had a really tough day at work, she would always be there for us. Being a doctor, it's a really busy job. She didn't have sick days, but I definitely had sick days as a kid. And if I was sick, I was coming to her office with her. I'd be in her office all day watching Barney or watching PBS Kids. And I would run around the office, saying hi to all the nurses. I'd go weigh myself on her scale, see how tall I was every time I was in there. I was able to hear her interact with the kids that she was seeing. And no matter how hard her day was, she was always so positive and so gentle with every single one of her patients. And I think being a pediatrician and seeing kids from all different walks of life, from different family backgrounds, different socioeconomic status, different challenges that they all face, it made her more thankful to come home each day, to have healthy kids, to be able to provide a loving household for me and my brother. So I think it gave her an appreciation for the things that she had, and it made her want to do the best that she could with what she had because she saw what others didn't. As an adult, I have found more appreciation for what my mom did as a kid than I did when I was a kid. I think everybody can relate to being an angsty teenager and not really thinking that your parents had your best interest at heart or knew what you were going through. So my mom and I did butt heads a lot when I was a teenager and even early college. But I think getting out of college and starting work and starting my real job at Cook Children's and seeing what my mom saw every day in her patients has really given me appreciation for how much she really did for us as a kid, and the emotional toll that I'm sure her practice put on her each and every day, and still came home with a smile on her face to tell her kids how much she loved them, tell her kids no matter what we did, she would still love us, and really show us unconditional love. I always knew I wanted to work with kids. Like I said, I grew up sitting in her office all day watching Barney and listening to how she interacted with kids and just being really inspired by what she was doing. Originally, I thought I wanted to follow directly in her footsteps and become a pediatrician too and work for Cook Children's as a pediatrician. I got to college as a pre-med student and quickly realized I did not like school that much. Organic Chemistry 1 really got me. So I pivoted, I found nutrition, and I've been doing that ever since, and I'm really grateful and I feel blessed to have found that route because I'm still able to do what I love and work with kids in just a different route that not many people know about. And it's really cool to be able to work with both parents and the little ones to help them blossom into the kids that they can become. I was a public health major in college, and that's also a major that not many people know about. So I picked two things that are kind of fly under the radar in healthcare. But public health led me to nutrition because I had to take a nutrition class in college. And as soon as I took one nutrition class, I fell in love with it. I started doing research how I could make this a career. Turns out there's many different careers that you can have in nutrition. There's many different things that you can do as a dietitian. You can work in sports, you can work in media, you can work in a hospital, you can own your own business, you can work for Lay's and Coca-Cola doing their regulatory affairs, you can work for the government. I, during school, fell in love with the clinical side of nutrition, which is what I do now because I have the most direct patient care, which is what I love. But I wish everybody knew more about nutrition and that more kids going into college knew that it was an option, that you don't just have to become a doctor or a nurse. You can become a dietitian too, and it's much less school than becoming a doctor, but it's still very rewarding. So there's a big misconception that a dietitian is a nutritionist or vice versa, but that is not correct. Anybody can call themselves a nutritionist. Any person off the street can say, oh, I like food. I know a little bit from my Google search. I can tell you about food. I'm a nutritionist now. A dietitian requires an undergraduate degree in a healthcare or science field. It requires now a master's degree, and it requires 1,200 hours of clinical internship experience by an accredited university. So it is much more than just a quick Google search on what carbs, protein, and fat are to call yourself a dietitian. I knew I always wanted to work with kids. I always thought I got it from my mom, but I think I almost fell into it. Every job I've ever had that I can remember, I've worked with kids. I was a junior volunteer at Cook Children's. I worked as a volunteer at the summer zoo school in Fort Worth for their little kids camps during the summer. I was a camp counselor for kids at my camp that I went to all growing up. I was a nanny for 3 years during college, and then I started working at Cook Children's. So I've never had a job where I wasn't working with kids, and I've never had a job that I hated. I, of course, learned about Cook Children's through my mom, and then during my internship, I interned in the NICU with Cook Children's because I wanted more experience in pediatrics. And as soon as I started working here during my internship, I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the culture, how much everybody cared about their patients, how much the dietitians really cared about learning more and advancing in their knowledge and their career. So it was kind of a no-brainer that I wanted to apply to work there after my internship was over and after I finished my grad degree. And I feel so blessed to have this job as my first job out of grad school because it has been the best job I could ask for as a new dietitian. I've learned so much because the field of dietetics is so niche and can be so specialized. Each patient that we have, they come in, whether it's from the NICU or they're a little older and they're coming in, we assess what they've been taking for formula or if they're breastfeeding. We assess their calorie needs, their protein needs, their fluid needs, their micronutrient needs. And we determine if what they have been getting is meeting those needs. If not, what can we do to fix that? Are they tolerating their current formula? Are they tolerating their current G-tube feeding regimen? If not, how do we fix that? Do we need to add more protein? Do we need to add more fiber? Do we need to add a probiotic? Do we need to educate family on proper formula mixing? Do we need to educate family on a milk-free, soy-free diet for breastfeeding. There's many different facets of nutrition that you don't know about or think about until you're in it. And Cook Children's has helped me slow down, understand the process, and be able to think for myself and use my own judgment to help my patients as best as I can. Working with my mom is fun. She's not my boss anymore, thankfully. But it's nice knowing that if I ever need something, she's there. I think we all, as adults, even rely on our moms for support and comfort. So it's nice knowing that she's just down the street. Sometimes she'll text me and say, hey, what are you doing for lunch? And if we're both free, she'll walk over and we'll meet each other for lunch and just catch up on our lives outside of work. So that's nice. But yeah, it's really nice just knowing that she's there. No, unfortunately or fortunately, we don't share any patients or crossover really in our work, but we do talk to each other about things that are going on, or if one of us has questions, we can ask the other. Like if there's a medication I'm not familiar with, I can text her and be like, hey, what do you know about this medication? Or if she has questions about a new formula that came onto the market or a question about nutrition, she'll text me and just ask me. Now that we work together and we're less mother-daughter in the workplace and more colleagues at the same medical center, it gives us an opportunity to connect in a way that we never have. Like I said earlier, when you're a teenager or in your early 20s in college, you think that your parents have no idea what's going on with you. They don't understand you. But now it's fun to realize that our parents were right all along. And now we do have this thing to connect over, and we can talk about our struggles at work or successes that we have and really understand each other. So I initially thought I wanted to be a pediatrician like my own mom, but I quickly realized that it was going to be important for me to carve my own path. Not everybody's made for medical school, and I commend everyone that is, but that just wasn't for me. I knew I wanted to work in medicine, but I didn't know how, and I thought that the only route was to become a doctor. And then I went to school and my eyes were just widened to all the different career opportunities that were out there, and that's how I found nutrition. You know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Working at a place where your mom is pretty notorious for being a big boss on campus. You know, there is a level of pressure with my mom being there to always be on my A game, and I put that pressure on myself more than she puts that on me. But I just don't want to disappoint her. But there is also the flip side, and everybody knows my mom as this kind, hardworking person that they automatically put that on me. So I already get a leg up in that sense. Overall, I feel really blessed to be able to work in the same place as my mom and feel like we're on the same team. And whenever we get dinner together, we're able to share our struggles and our successes and be helping the same population and doing the same, not the same, but similar work. Just trying to help out the patients and families of our area. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was really nice starting work at Cook Children's and having a built-in support system. You know, it was my first job out of grad school, so that can be scary. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. I mean, I had grown up at Cook Children's and gone to work with mom, and I've been around Cook Children's my entire life. I was a patient at Cook Children's myself, but your first job is still scary. So it was nice knowing that she was always going to be there if I was nervous or if I had questions or if I didn't know how something worked. I knew she was just down the street.
And I think it's been really nice that you have a steady paycheck.
So something you may not know about Dr. Phillips is she's a huge Trekkie. Every weekend in our house growing up was spent watching Star Trek movies against my wishes.
And she hates it. She will not watch it. You make your children do something, they hate it. She's not a Trekkie. Not a bit. Annie is super fitness oriented and has inspired her father and I to be that way. And that's how she met her boyfriend, was at the gym. It was their love connection at the gym. So that's really important to her. And I respect that a lot. And she has really inspired many of us to do the same. The Phillips legacy.
Biggest legacy. I didn't even know that was a thing.
No, that's too much pressure.
That's a lot of pressure.
I don't know about that. What would that even mean? The Phillips legacy. I don't know. The only legacy I want to leave is that I've done good work and I've taken good care of kids and hopefully made a difference. If that's the legacy, I can handle that.
The best thing that I can hear coming to work is that a mom or a parent tells me that I've really helped them in a way, and that's all I want to do.
What's in the future? I don't know. I like to joke I'm still trying to decide what I want to be when I grow up. So I don't know. Every day is a new day. Starting this new chapter, and we'll see. I don't know. What do you think?
Definitely not retirement for you.
No,
You work until you're 80.
I like to work, yeah. What about you? What's in your future?
I mean, obviously, one of my main goals in life is to have kids of my own. I'm sure you're excited for that.
I wasn't going to say that because grandchildren might be really good, but someday.
As far as work future, I really like where I'm at right now. I'm learning a lot. I want to keep learning a lot. Who knows, maybe I'll get into management one day to follow in my mom's footsteps. But I'm really enjoying the learning process right now.
I always knew Annie was a person who could argue her case and get what she wants. So, a couple of fun stories. She earned her first dollar in life having a temper tantrum in the Target checkout line. She wanted a candy bar. And I told her no, she could not have a candy bar. So she proceeded to throw a huge fit until the lady standing in line in front of us gave her $1. At which time she held up the dollar and with a very smug face was like, and I looked at her and I said, well, and I looked at the lady, I said, wait, ma'am, that was so kind. And you're welcome to let her keep the $1, but she's still not getting any candy. So I have a couple of others, but your turn.
Thanks for not giving me the candy. It was probably good for me.
See, now she sees the wisdom of it. At the time, not so much.
So we have this family domino game that we play called 42. And we play it every holiday or family gathering. And Lord help us if we're not on my mom's team, or even worse, if you are her partner and you're not doing well, she will...
I might call you out on it.
throw words she might regret later.
Yeah, so they tell me they love it, but I'm not so sure.
It's fun to see that side of her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You don't see it often.
Yeah. And we have a family fantasy football league for the first time this year. 10 of us.
I don't think I've still gotten the hang of it.
No. Yeah, Dad's in last place.
I don't think he's even open yet.
He's not trying. Well, you know, it is pretty cool having you work at Cook's because your job is your family, but now my family is part of my job family. And so that's pretty awesome. And I'm so proud of the amazing young woman that you are and the great work you're having.
You know, Mom, I am proud of you. I'm proud of both of us. I think over the last 5 or so years, we've both grown a lot as people. And I think something that's really brought us closer together is us both working at Cook Children's. We have more to, not only that we have more to talk about over dinner, but we have something that bonds us and connects us more than we ever have.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, you know, nobody ever teaches you how to parent an adult child. And it is really hard. But what's been cool is with this common link, I think it helps us to really connect and talk to each other on a different level. And you don't think I'm as stupid as you used to think I was.
I never thought she was stupid.
Yeah, maybe that junior year in high school.